I don't
Yeah,
like him
he's
because he's
warning
doing.
him the same way that you would say, like, all tyrants are built up on looking, the bodies of those who came before. Like, yeah, God, I fucking hate that guy. Says the things I can't put in my own notes now. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. We come back as we normally do with notes, and that's it. Sorry. Usually we actually come back with more, but I just had to prepare myself that I'm working on a bunch of stuff that might be related to this or might not be. And we didn't have any comments. So when it's not all three things in a row, my brain just doesn't know what to do.
Going off script, as it were.
Yeah, well, also on my notepad, I have the notes for the characters to add once I get there. But working on other stuff at the moment, tangentially related to this and the board.
So let's go to notes. We have quite a bit of things to cover, starting with episode 35, Decisions and Ambitions. As predicted, Nguyen and Alarcon were annihilated. Idiots.
Yep, if I was going to say anything about the board, I do have a note to mark them as dead. Alright, well, I mean, there's agreement there, so. You see that, Julian? That's how great commanders do battle. I'm sure that was thousands of our own ships, hundreds of thousands of our own men. They have a clear objective, and once that's accomplished, they withdraw without a second thought. Sir, at least one of those commanders has been with you for years now. Should we at least give them a moment of silence? No hanging around. Goes on to consider how talented the Imperial forces are while smiling.
Yeah, well, I mean...
One of those guys was new. Was the war criminal guy, never heard about. Nguyen has been with us for a long time.
Nguyen has, yeah.
So I'm just saying, the joke, the abridged series version of this that I would put out would have a guy in the background saying those. Sir, that's thousands of our own men. What great men those Imperial commanders must be. Moment of silence for Nguyen, sir? He's the best man at your funeral. Best man's funeral. Never mind. I was going with that one. He's not married, that's the whole point.
Talking of which, it also shows that those that fight for glory are morons, while those that fight tactically and strategically tend to win and live to fight another day.
Except for the fact that we already covered the Imperials' fight for glory.
Not as much as of late. They actually are following orders, and
the only reason they even attacked was for revenge and glory. It's the idea that they know not what they do. They know not to continue a fight for no good reason. They achieved their objective and they got out, as per Yang's morbid praise. But the idea that they didn't have to attack at all. They achieved their objective of not their objective was actually to reinforce and win, but that was gone before they got there. They got Mueller. They could have just gone. They do what they do for glory, as per the previous, and seems to be still current. 30% more than the GNP on military expenditures is pretty bad. As we've seen, the Alliance is trying desperately to cut back on infrastructure and civilian spending. That number doesn't even feature those. Meaning that the situation is so much worse than it would even seem based on the initial statement. It doesn't help that we just casually hear that it's at 18% over GNP while in peacetime. Just pushing it harder that the Alliance cannot stand on its own 2 feet without the aid of Fezzen. That if Fezzen pulls away from the Alliance, then collapse moves from inevitable to imminent. That might be the story at hand, though. Reinhardt's mistrust of what is going on with Fezzen could ensure that... I must have been falling asleep when I wrote this. Despite how well the first part starts, I must have been falling asleep and gotten to the second episode. Because I'm just going to read it verbatim, and you're going to figure out why I'm saying this. What's going on with Fezzen could ensure that she don't think control of the Empire is possible, and redirects authority away from there and starts building up Alliance instead. A real blockbuster not buying Netflix or Coke, not buying Pepsi moment.
Yeah,
she don't think control of the Empire is possible.
Reinhardt? I think I understand. Yeah, yeah. Sure.
No, she can't be Reinhardt. She must be Rubinsky.
Or Hilda?
No, that makes less sense. Reinhardt's mistrust of what is going on with Fezzen could ensure that she don't think control of the Empire is possible, and redirects authority from there and starts building up the alliance instead. Has to be somebody in Pheasant.
Somebody has to. It has to be Pheasant. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I meant they.
Yes. Yeah.
Or he. But either way, clearly that he don't think. That's not how I would write that in a conscious manner.
Well, I'm going to answer your statement with my statement. So the alliance is spending far in excess of what they're producing, plus they have lost control of that debt to Pheasant. No sovereign debt, no sovereignty.
I mean, yeah, they're paying 133% of their national product to the military, which means
the gross national product, so the totality of it.
That's what I'm saying, 133% though. I mean, over 133. Sorry, my mind was already going to the element that they're spending a third of already 100%. So 133% would have been that. So technically, it's 130%, but
close enough.
The idea being that doesn't even include their already existing expenditures towards civilian welfare, infrastructure, etc., etc., etc. Meaning that they might be well in the hole of double spending.
Yeah.
In which case, yeah, the moment Pheasant says, no more money, I guess your only way you can go is authoritarian. We don't have the money, we don't have the economy to back up our promises, so the only way that we can ensure the factories stay open
is to force people to work.
Yeah, for no pay and no guarantee of any pay, or that any of the promises that might exist for private corporations to get anything, literally anything involving money, can no longer be guaranteed. That or you just go into hyperinflation, in which case, just as bad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some current real life examples, especially one country in particular. I don't want to get to, but I could probably send you some links that explain how that actually works in real life, which is not that far from what's going on right now.
We don't have to do that, man. We can just go to not go into our problem. I don't always want to bring up the same countries over and over again, but we've all seen pictures. I'm not going to say where, of the sled filled with money to get some bread. And we've all heard the Cold War era jokes about bread lines. Anyway, were you responding to my note, or was he just?
Yes, I was responding to your note with my note about it. Yeah,
it all kind of melded together, so I couldn't remember if this was just a conversation.
Yeah.
So now we get the strife within Pheasant as well. Rubinsky and the motivations of the church. Rubinsky and the motivations of his kin.
Now, let me see if I have my note. Now, I have a note about that, but I don't want to jump in there because then it gets all convoluted. But yeah, I agree that there are points of friction there, particularly between Kesselring and Rubinsky, and who gets essentially to inherit Pheasant, even though technically speaking, it's not an inherited position.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah.
He said it's not an inherited position. You have to earn your way to it, but take your time while doing so. And he says, he gets out of there and he goes, "Don't tell me to take my time. You didn't take your time."
Talking about Rubinsky and Kesselring, it seems very much that Rubinsky and Kesselring at 24:45, where Rubinsky says, this keeps telling me, it seems it's time to put that plan. I don't know why I wrote plane. We spoke up before into action. To which Kesselring responded, "Yes, I'll have them depart at once." We had that discussion of whether they were talking about other plans or they were talking about the plan to send people to.
Yeah, there's multiple plans in motion.
Yeah, but I said no. They were talking about that one plan, and I said, no, it could be something else. Like, no, well, according to what I saw, it seems very much that they were talking about that one plan.
Glad I live in your head rent free.
That's why we watch this and make corrections.
Okay. It's funny to be having the anti-inheritance talk to Mariendorf, the only person to successfully negotiate keeping their noble title, estate, and holdings under Reinhardt's rule.
Pretty much. And, of course, Reinhardt's sister kept her title as well, as Countess Grindelwald. So
I'm just saying that he's directly having the anti-inheritance talk to her, the person who kept her estate.
I suppose he can say that because he was the one who gave it, so he who giveth can take it away. It's like, yeah, you will have inheritance as long as I say you have inheritance. The moment I take it away from you, well, that sucks for you. So there's that. Now on to Rubinsky and Kesselring again. Was Rubinsky listening listening in on Kesselring, or simply watching him through the monitor with no audio? That's a poorly written question, but there you go. It seems to me that the son does resent his father for having abandoned him and his mother to marry the daughter of a rich family. That, and that he was put in place by the Church of Terra and not by his own skill.
I mean, he's probably just watching through the camera.
Yeah.
The camera's at such a distance that I don't think it would pick anything up.
That's why there has a question. I don't know if it's true or not. But then this is
That's
future
why I was
technology.
answering it. There was a question.
This is, well, future retro tech because it's 1980s. But still.
So now that's 2 vows of revenge against Yang from this operation, Mueller, and now one of Kemp's kids.
Both of them, actually.
No, just the one. Just the one says it.
Talking about Mueller, he speaks well of Mueller that he was willing to face punishment while pleading for the innocent of his subordinates. And the guy who chopped up another guy's arm died anyway, so he can't get punished.
Conceivably not one of Mueller's subordinates.
True.
Feels like Ruenthal is going to be the first one to take that shot at taking Reinhardt down and going for the throne.
Again, I have a note about that, but I haven't got to there yet. It seems that Kirchhoff's memory still influences Reinhardt, that and the practicality of not throwing away good talent. Then again, punishing Schaff after he got shafted by Fessen served as a reminder that while Reinhardt can be forgiven, he's still capable of being ruthless.
Well, I think the idea is that Mueller did something to the best of his ability and on good faith, where Shaft was operating under a foreign or whatever you want to call Fessen.
Well, not the evidence was that he had been stealing from.
He was giving them tech, and he was selling state secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that the difference is that Mueller was doing stuff on good faith. He failed on good faith.
Yeah.
Right, I'm saying that you're saying that Shaft getting arrested and being punished shows that he is not willing to forgive or whatever. I'm saying that there's a big difference between what Mueller did or failed to do and what Shaft did and just did.
Yeah, true, but I think the message ultimately is that just because he's willing to forgive doesn't mean he's not willing to punish when needed, right?
Shaft is not a good example of that.
When needed.
What was the fuck was his name? Remember the guy? I can see him in my head. I can't remember his name, and I don't have the board open. During where Yang escaped, because he was like too glory hog. So ironic, given our previous conversation, that he used up a lot of his forces, would create an opening that allowed Yang to escape, and then Kirchhoff had to show up and like, maybe you shouldn't be like this about that guy, because he was going to send that guy to like punishment back on Odin.
Yeah,
this is the difference. That would be the difference here. That guy versus Mueller. Not Shaft. Shaft has not done something that's worthy of forgiveness or and all punishment is all Shaft deserves. So I did get that French that was under Alfred's text in the meeting with Reinhardt. Leopold said exactly the same thing. If you wanna read the translation for us.
Okay, Alfred von Landstrand lives at Allied armies. This book, the first of its kind in Europe and in French, aims to enlighten the reader with a collector or simply history associated about the NSDAP, National Socialist German Workers' Party, better known as the reaction Nazi, and thus lift the corner of the veil of the multitude of organizations bounded upon this acronym, itself concealing a fantastic and little known uniformology. The writer of which explains the absence of from most collections, giving that is intended for a limited circle of enthusiasts. Okay.
So the very first mention of the word Nazi in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and they tried to hide it in French.
I mean, well, not hide it in French, because you're translating from the French, and the book is supposed to be in French. So I guess they just lifted it from the book itself.
No, Sweet Summer Child.
It says.
I don't give a shit what it says. What your point is meaningless to the greater point. What does that have to do with Alfred? They chose a section of a book to put in French. And you're saying, well, the book's in French. Yeah, doesn't matter. My point is that they took a segment from a French book and put it into this text block, hiding something. I don't know. It's like in the Seed, where they just took like news articles of the day. Lessons, I know you just tilted your head, which means you're just waiting to say something, but still listen to me now. It's like in Seed, where they took a news article from the year that they were making the thing and put it in, and sometimes they even replaced the word of the name of the company to the character's name, as though the character had suddenly become a building for genetics research. I'd also the fact that this was text in the background of a scene, further adding to my they were hiding it.
It could be that it's referencing an oblique reference to a real person.
No, not based on what you read.
I mean,
Again, the text has nothing to do with the person. It has nothing to do with.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. The text has nothing to do with a person.
Well, you know how they like to code things German coded when they want to have a particular type of villain.
Yeah,
or,
you know, the hardest way that you can code something in German is in French.
I mean, the side, but in this case, they're supposed to be the villains, I guess, because they want to derail Reinhardt's work. So
Who?
Landsberg and the other conspirators.
There's so many conspirators lessons.
The ones from the Leipzig coalition that are still around. Leipzig, yeah.
Lipstadt.
Yes.
Except that coalition doesn't exist anymore.
Well, technically, like, it has survivors, including him.
Survivors does not make you an organization. Surviving Nazis were not part of the German Reich anymore.
No, but they were still Nazis.
Yeah. They're Nazis. You know, that is an interesting discussion on nomenclature. Because being a Nazi means you're a member of the Nazi Socialist Party. But with the fall of Germany, the party no longer exists. You're a Nazi in a different terminology. So the nomenclature is changed. So you're no longer a member of the National Socialist Party because the Socialist Party doesn't exist anymore. But you're a Nazi in the new terminology of the word, which is different.
Might apply here as well.
No. Definitely not.
That's part of the rebel.
So you're saying that the Nazis survived the Galactic Federation?
No. I'm talking about them.
Then Rudolph reformed a new socialist German Workers' Party. Because it's even right there in the text. Socialist German Workers' Party. So
I'm talking about Landsberg here, and I'm talking about him being
a German,
part of
a very clear German. It's in the fucking word. I'm saying it applies to him. It's been your argument the entire time.
Let me explain what I'm trying to say here. Talking about him being part of the Leipzig coalition, right? Say, well, they don't exist anymore. Okay, but he's still very much a rebel. I guess that would still fit there. I'm not talking specifically about the NSCTP or.
Well, that was your previous assertion that maybe it does apply to him. It's like, no.
No, I think I applied basically, general speaking, to the analogy of who these people are in general, not in specific.
You know, that's not what's happening here. Again,
so how do you
might not have been paying attention lessons, even when I was imploring you to stop looking up what you were looking and pay attention. When I was referencing Gundam Seed.
Okay.
You seriously weren't paying attention even when I was asking you to, were you?
Yeah, no, they had the text, but
that's what this is.
What is it?
It's filler text.
Yeah.
It doesn't refer to anybody. It's not meant to be read.
Yeah, which is pretty weird. That's an interesting choice. So what do you think is happening here other than filler text?
Nothing. Well, that's what I'm saying. Filler text. Nothing is happening here.
Okay.
I thought it was entertaining. I didn't think it was going to lead to an argument because you're going to go button. Sorry, my brain was like filled 3 different insults all at one, like banana nuts wall, and that's all that came out of my mind. It didn't mean anything.
Okay. Yeah.
You would all banana nuts wall. Anyway,
yeah, I just
thought it was funny because you're constantly invoking that they're of a certain era of Germany, the Imperials, and this is the first literal Nazi is written on the show. It's like, that's pretty funny. And then you're like, what's the deeper meaning behind this? There's no deeper meaning lessons. They copied and pasted something. Shows have been doing it forever now.
Well, that was your point. I was looking for this test that you're talking about, and then I missed it for some reason. Okay, how did Hilda know that it was Kirchhoff's memory that influenced Reinhardt? Although I'll give her a point for being right about Oberstein.
What?
There's a conversation between her and Oberstein in the hallway, and he's like, "Oh, did you tell him to spare this guy?" It's like, "No, it was Kirchhoff who told him that." I'm like, "How did you? What? How do you know that?" But then she goes like, "Oh, is
She's talking
Overstein
about the
thinking about?"
memory of Kirchheis.
No, she doesn't even mention the
Kirchheis
memory.
wasn't
She just mentions
alive
Kirch.
to have this guy be spared.
I know
It's
that. She
no,
says,
don't defend yourself here. Don't defend yourself here, Lessons. You're just in the wrong.
"No,
He's not
no,
saying
no,
that
no. Here's what
Kirchheis
happened."
told him to. It's the memory of Kirchheis.
Yeah, but she doesn't even. Okay, because we have.
She does know.
sequence.
Before this, she's been in episodes where she's like been looking at places that Kirchheis was. Oh, is that the room where Kirchheis died in? She knew Kirchheis. She's met Kirchheis.
Yeah.
She knows their experience together. Your question seems to me to be assuming that she knows nothing about Kirchheis.
No,
she knows how Reinhardt is influenced by Kirchheis. That's what she implies to Oberstein when she's talking to him in the hall.
Yeah, but we have the scene before where Kirchheis goes into the room, is again fondling the locket, and looks around and sees an image of Kirchheis. Reinhardt, yeah, and sees an image of Kirchheis, and that happens, and then he decides, okay, I'm going to spell.
Well, again, you're assuming.
He literally said so out loud. I will. Okay, Kirchheis.
No, Lessons, you're assuming. Oh, he didn't say. Okay, Kirchheis. You're making up a whole thing. I had to rewatch this episode 3 times, mind you, because I fell asleep during the first time. Then I was taking my notes the second time, and then since we got an extra day, I rewatched it again. He does not have a conversation with Kirchheis. He's looking at the locket. Kirchheis says something, gets his attention. It's Kirchheis. It's a ghost of Kirchheis, and then boom, fades away. There's no conversation. He does not talk to the ghost of Kirchheis. This is not Christmas Carol. I'm saying you're assuming, because we go from that to then him singing Mueller, and the assumption is maybe Kirchheis is the memory of Kirchheis made him.
He does say something like, "Okay, I will spare him."
No, he doesn't. No conversation there. I feel like you sometimes are just adding shit, Lessons.
I'm not adding shit because I also watched the episode. That's why I wrote the note.
You know what? Fuck it. You've given us time. What was that? Episode 35? 34?
Episode 34. 35. Episode 35, yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but let's figure this out. Is that before or after Rubinsky?
I believe is after Rubinsky.
I like that I was already going backwards. After Rubinsky.
Okay, here we are.
Mariendorf, that's Oberstein.
You're right. A man like Mueller is hard to find.
Oh, okay, he's not talking to him. See, the ghost just vanishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he looks at the locket. There's not conversation with Kirchheis. Kirchheis is gone.
It's implied that he's talking to the ghost of, it's going like,
he's talking to the hair, my man. He's talking to the hair. No, like I said, this isn't Christmas Carol. Kirchheis is not still, the ghost of Kirchheis is still not there, and he's like talking to it. The thing fades away, and he looks down at the locket.
But he's still responding to the fact that he had this brief vision. Like,
he's talking to himself out loud.
Yeah, because Kirchheis is dead. Of course, he can't talk to an actual person.
You can't talk. Listen, if you're having hallucinations, you can talk to the hallucinations. It's all in your fucking head. But that's not what he's doing. He saw a hallucination of Kirchheis, I guess maybe reminding him of his better self, and then fucking talked to the locket. Again, we assume he's talking to the hair. For all we know, he's talking to the picture of his past self.
Either way.
That's actually technically not either way.
When
we get into arguments, Lessons, they're not either way. They're either or.
In this case, yes, I think he is very much talking to the memory of Kirchheis. But still,
disagree.
Like, he has appearance and he talks. He said something, and he did actually say something, and he spares Mueller because he remembered Kirchheis, which is the point that Hilda was bringing up. But the thing is, the way it comes off, it sounds very much like she was there. Like, oh yes, I saw him.
Except for the fact that she talks to Oberstein before that scene.
No, immediately after.
We just flipped through it. I literally just told you, okay, that's Oberstein. Okay, that's the scene. I just had to flick forwards. You know what? Fucking Lessons, we're still here.
That can't happen because he hasn't pardoned Mueller yet. The scene immediately after is when he pardons Mueller and sentences, has him taken away, shafted Chaff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I see where I'm going wrong here. Wait, what?
Windows Media.
Yeah, okay. What must have happened was I must have started the episode on the Oberstein conversation. So that when I moved around in the episode, that's where it came from. Anyway, I still think you're wrong on at least 2 points. One being who he's talking to, Reinhardt. And 2, Mariendorf fucking knows about Kerchase. I don't know, the entire basis of this point doesn't make any sense to me. It'd be like if I was talking about somebody, I'm sorry, who I was about to invoke. If I was talking about somebody who had passed in my life, and I just had like a thought about them, and I came to the realization of what I would have done if they were still around. And then my best friend said, oh yeah, it was probably something about his dad, or some shit, I'd be like, yeah, my best friend knows me and my dad. Like, what are you talking about? It's very weird how he kept invoked his dad. Or his best friend invoked his dad. Yeah, my best friend would fucking know me, wouldn't they? Sorry, you did that noble thing. It did that fucking noble thing, Lessons.
No, I was looking
where I'm
at
like some peasant that's yelling at you, and you like, I'm over here, you went,
no,
holier than thou, you fuck.
But the problem was that you were talking, and then you were slowing down and accelerating and slowing down again. And I was looking, okay, I'm dropping packets. So I look at the packets, and yes, I'm dropping packets.
You're what's her name from Kill la Kill, when it stands at the very top of everything with a sword in her hand, just looking down at everybody. This is where you guys belong.
That's the older sister, yeah, but that's I know that
spoilers.
By osmosis. I know that by osmosis. Actually,
I've legit not finished that show, so
I haven't watched any episodes. Anyway, and then she says, because I haven't finished my notes, she muses about Oberstein. Like, oh, does Oberstein has a Machiavellian view of Reinhardt? And I'm like, yeah, he does. You're exactly right there. Mm-hmm. That's Oberstein for you.
Not to use him like a tool.
Yeah.
That's what she says.
And I agree.
Okay. Seems that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the leader of a country but a tool? Tool of the people.
I don't think this is a
is
tool
Oberstein
of the
not
scenario.
a person? Is that your point of view? Oberstein's not a person?
No,
is it because of its genetic faults lessons? Are you pulling a Rudolph on this one?
No.
Oberstein has had to fight through an oppressive system to reach the position that he's in through intelligence and guile. A system that was designed to be anti-people like him. And what do you want to do? You want to crush the little man.
Sure.
Little man who, by the way, has faulty eyes that don't work right.
Just like his conscience. Anyway, you're next.
Mariendorf says that they wouldn't want to execute Reinhardt for all the chaos it would cause, yet when thinking about who their target to kidnap might be, he still places himself at the top of the list. I mean, I think that would cause just as much chaos.
Yeah, but
they wouldn't assassinate you. That would cause a lot of chaos. But they might be out to kidnap somebody. Me? No, Reinhardt, that would cause chaos.
We do know that the plan is eventually to kill him, but not right now.
No, they didn't indicate that.
Yeah, no, Rubinsky said, yeah, we're going to kill him eventually, but not right now.
Oh, you're talking about, like, okay. Well, you're not invoking lessons. You're not invoking what was said this episode. You're invoking what's been said, like, across multiple episodes. Yeah, well, I'm only invoking what was said in this conversation here. The scope of my purview is in, like, a 10-minute, 5-minute span.
You moved on to the next episode. I'm still in the last
As
episode.
I said, I just write a block of notes, so...
Yeah. So my next point is something you already mentioned, and I put it as a short question. Will Runthal betray Reinhardt?
Probably not.
Probably.
Sorry, I guess I was doing something in my head. I didn't hear the last part.
Probably.
Not.
Probably.
Not.
Still leave space for the possibility.
Oh yeah, anything's possible. Reinhardt could trip and fall down the stairs tomorrow, for all we know. I imagine the kidnapping of Erwin would allow for an imagined political expectation, and then a more realist one. That there might be an expectation that taking Erwin to Fezzen might allow them to control him and give him orders as though they came from Erwin himself. Likely the whole thing under the cover of going to Fezzen being Erwin's idea. Of course, this seems like fantasy from a realistic point of view, considering that the Lipstadt were thinking the same thing, and wouldn't have foreseen that as saving them. Sorry, I wouldn't have foreseen that as saving them. No, I think maybe the goal is more nefarious than that. What does Phezin want? A more secure power base in the Empire, so that when they take over from Reinhardt, they can do so with the least effort. Erwin is a distraction from that power base. I have to think that their goal might not be kidnapping, but assassination. I know we already get the whole thing about bringing Erwin over to the Alliance with a government in exile, but I'm just trying to look at, well, what if everyone's lying?
Yeah.
What if their secret goal is to form the power base for themselves? But I mean, obviously, that also seems like a failure if that was to be the case, because it would just make Phezin a target, which Phezin itself is making itself a target as per the end of the episode, I feel like. But, yeah, I think it's possible that Erwin is going to be the target of an assassination and not a kidnapping, as has been announced.
I do have notes about that, but I don't want to skip too far ahead in my notes. I agree with Young 100% about the two types of violence, but I have to admit that many claim the latter in pursuit of the former, or allow the latter to turn into the former, as the Alliance has done twice, no less.
So you understand the failure of your note is, right?
I didn't tell which types of violence I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
You talked about two things. Now. I say more of this one than this one.
He talks about the two types of violence in the form of liberation and violence for the purpose of control. And I say, I agree. Those are very distinct terms of violence, and I support violence for liberation, if necessary, if it comes to it, right? That's a last, choice. But the thing is, as I said in the note, that many people have claimed to be fighting for liberation while in fact fighting for control. And even when you do fight for liberation, as the Alliance has ostensibly done when they invaded Imperial space, in the end, it turned into a fight for control, because when they were challenged, they took all the food, left people stranded, and fend for themselves. And then a fight for liberation against the corrupt government turned into a coup d'etat and establishment, a short-lived autocratic military junta. So, in the end, it was perverted. So, well, yes, in theory, in practice, it's a little more complicated than that.
I don't know. Sounds a lot like wanking.
I think it's pretty.
It's philosophical wanking is all it is. Legitimately,
Not
it's
really.
like the control. I mean, you're not like you're parroting control versus liberation, but who's to say that control isn't necessary at points?
Well, I think control will be more like a war of conquest than anything else, and I don't think that's ever good.
Right. Well, there you go. You've already made a distinction between your conflict for control, and you've already separated that into two categories. It's all boxes.
No, I'm classifying. I'm clarifying the war for control as being truly a war for conquest.
Right. I'm just saying that you've already said your whole. You've basically given your synopsis on the thought, and then had to re-clarify afterwards. Which is what I'm saying is these are just definitions that we're making up to try and, we're doing the funnel. We're doing the funnel, which is to say this fighting is bad, right? And then you're like, well, there are distinctions about good fighting and bad fighting. So let's go down the funnel to trying to eliminate the bad fighting from the good fighting. And then we're finding, oh, well, there's all these nuances to conflict, which makes some conflict necessary, or other conflicts are progressive versus regressive. And again, we're just philosophically wanking ourselves off here because, we instinctually know what's necessary and what's not necessary when someone's trying to control us versus when somebody's trying to fight for their own rights. So, just going down the me style definition, words have definitions. When it's a main character doing it, I feel, again, it's just the show trying to jerk off in our faces.
Well, I didn't feel that at all.
You didn't feel it? You didn't feel the show jerking off in your face?
It didn't happen to me. I don't know if it happened to you, but, that's between you and the show. That's...
Oh, maybe one of these days you'll visit the jewelry store.
I will not. Yeah, no. Anyway, that was my notes. You still have notes? I know you're way ahead of me in your notes.
Yeah, I haven't run out yet. I think this is the first time Reinhardt's ever addressed any opinion about Phezin or Rubinsky, the Black Fox of Phezin. I guess he's just been preparing off-screen to deal with a political foe, as this all feels like a Yang-type story, happening in the Empire, and less so a Reinhardt one, especially without Siegfried around. Which, fair enough, Yang's been getting Reinhardt stories lately. A little back and forth would be fair.
Also, he has never really been in a position to really care about what Fessen is doing until now. Now that he's the
He
prime
has.
minister, he's like, really?
Gaiden. We had a whole story about him in Pheasant Space. He traveled through Pheasant Space before.
Yeah, but that's just, it was still at military maneuvering, not.
Well, no, because he had to
political
deal with,
maneuvering.
this would have been like a supply corps kind of thing, but still it involved Pheasant and intelligence gotten by Pheasant. So he's dealt with Pheasant and the strange way that Pheasant does things compared to the Empire. I'm just saying, you're
But
saying he has no real dealings with Pheasant, and I'm saying that we had a whole Gaiden story which took place around the Pheasant corridor.
And my last note for this episode, they keep showing Heinrich in his bed wanting to do something that will shape history before he dies. I wonder why.
Because he's dying.
I mean, yes, but I wonder why they keep showing him in that position. And will he get to do something about it? Or simply he will be someone who's just, oh, he's dying and that's it.
Well, I mean, that's the point. He's dying.
No, I think the point is what he's going to do before he dies.
No, that'll be the point when it happens. Right now, you're asking why we keep seeing a dying man hoping to do something with his future before he dies. Looking at all this shit from the past, seeing how they were able to do shit and how will he be able to do anything before he dies. Is a dying man lamenting about the fact that he's dying. That's the point right now. And if he does something, that will be the point then.
Sure.
You know, you're being dismissive here, Lessons. I get that because I'm being dismissive at you. But my point is, he hasn't done anything.
I know. That's why I'm putting the question.
No, I know. I get that. The question is, why? And my answer is, because he's dying. Once he gets out of bed, look, your question is, why do we keep seeing this? A man who will shape the Empire or whatever, right? He hasn't done anything. He hasn't pointed in any direction. He hasn't looked at like a famous military leader on the wall or the many pictures he has and been, that's the way I'm going to go. Or, I'm going to write a story looking at that guy over there, and it's really going to shape people like the way his story shaped. He hasn't decided a direction. Right now, it is, stop reading to me, maid. Oh, I'm so heartbroken over the fact that I will never do anything with my life. It's a lonely, dying man lamenting his life in bed. That, right now, is the point, because we haven't been introduced to anything he can do. We need that moment of decision from him for it to mean anything. So right now, it is because he's dying, is the answer.
Could he end up being the historian of this age?
No, because he's not going to live to the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the offhand answer to that, but a historian should probably live longer than the thing that they're going to experience. That was the point of making Viral, the storyteller in Gurren Lagann, is that Viral was gifted immortality, so he would see everything and then be able to tell everyone what he had seen. Well, he was gifted immortality, but not the ability to fight, because he does not have spiral energy, which is what's necessary to keep you in the fight. So he's a creature made for fighting with immortality and an inability to fight.
Yeah, it's your point now.
Yeah, I get that. I was lost in the moment. Well, you don't see it. You're wearing a black shirt, and the bottom of that is part of the overlay where your name is at, but it's like a red bar going this way. So when you sit in a certain direction, it's like you're wearing a captain's outfit from Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Especially with the one button undone, because it's sitting right above where the red line is. So it's the black top of the button right up here, and then the red right below that.
Oh, okay.
Leopold would be rewarded with an Imperial title once his mission is completed by the Imperial Commissioner back on Pheasant. But what good would that do if the Empire is tearing down the system and taking away land and wealth from the nobles? Congratulations, here's your barony. We're dissolving the monarchy tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think he hopes that their side can still win something out of this, but
well,
I
not
doubt
him.
Very much. Well,
he's the one to put a gun in the guy's face because I support what's going on over there. The only reason I'm doing this is for the safety of my men back on Pheasant.
Well, to episode 36, Thunder. The cold open, the lightning, and the mention that no buildings on Odin can be taller than the Kaiser's palace really gives this episode an ominous feel. Add the last scene of the last episode, and something momentous seemed to be in the offing. Let's see if that pans out. Spoiler alert, at least when it comes to this episode, not so much.
Well, I mean, you already mentioned the end of the episode.
The end of the last episode.
Well, I was saying it's not a spoiler alert if we've already watched the whole episode. We don't often get to see what Anna Rose is thinking, so her view of having stolen Kerchase's life away from him was rather refreshing, if not depressing. I would have expected the thought process to go more about her freedom than her safety, though. That living under guard would have been no different than when she was isolated under the Kaiser, but the more emotion-based route of what's been lost was definitely the better way to go.
I think she feels that this is just punishment for what she did to Kerchase, or she thinks she did to Kerchase. You know.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Which
she says that she's not worth protecting. I mean, that's definitely the words of somebody who feels they're not worth anything. If not for the fact that she's also surrounded herself with people who would argue that point.
My next question is, how old is Lich Tandala if he held the office of Prime Minister, for nearly a century, according to the narrator?
Well, remember, he would have also known...
at least 2 Kaisers, maybe 3.
Well, yeah, because, well, technically, he might have known 9. Given the fact that they last for like 5 years apiece, as we covered previous notes.
But the last Kaiser was the longest living Kaiser, about 40 years. So out of that, let's say that he served 90 years.
No, I'm trying to think of a dude's name, and I can't remember his name. From Gaiden.
Other dudes from Gaiden. I'm talking about the Kaiser, or... Oh, he knew him. He knew him. Yeah. I know you're talking
about. The name?
Yeah, but my name doesn't come in my head. The one with the secret book. Yeah, he knew him. He was one of the closest friends to the old Kaiser. Of course he knew him.
Yeah. Well, that guy also knew the Kaiser from childhood.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to guess what his age is. I'm saying that he would know the oldest man alive. So...
yeah.
90? 80? I'm going with 90 here. I mean, he doesn't look 90 like the other dude looks 90, but this is also a guy who's living in the palace, so...
At a miracles they have in the far future, especially for people who are
very more the immediacy of access versus this guy's off on a ship, so he's got ship's doctor at best for long periods of time. Whereas Lichtenlade has the best nobility can buy.
Well, he's pretty good.
So, Christian God and holidays, but still a Valhalla. Sounds like a rather interesting religion.
I mean, they mention the for Odin, like, oh, Odin, like, okay.
Yeah, but they've also mentioned Christianity a bunch of times. And also we've had Christmas. So I can't wait for Thor and Jesus to throw down in the Great Hall.
Yeah.
The Son of God versus the Gun of Zeus. Not Zeus, but
Thor.
Yeah.
Thor is the son of Odin, literally. The son of Odin.
Yes, that's why his name is Thor, Odin's son.
Yeah.
Because
Reinhardt,
they had such a great naming scheme when it came to children.
Anyway, Reinhardt, I will not be Chowdy McChowdy face like Rudolph. A few minutes later, my sister.
Yeah, he'll know the greatest pain in all of human history. It will be an atrocity what I do. Turned into like one of those old school wrestling interviews. You will know the greatest torment a human being has ever known. I cannot do the voice anymore. Used to be an age where I could do a Randy Savage, and couldn't even get close.
But the thing is, it's like, because they were talking about Thunder and how the first Kaiser was like, his voice was like that, and he's like, he was just openly saying things that that meant nothing. Yeah, what about your sister? The fuck you say?
Well, no, they're talking about the sister being an object of being kidnapping or assassination.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of his
reaction. I'm saying you're saying it means nothing. I'm sure it means something because what he's saying is probably what he'll do.
Yeah, no, but again, the idea is that the first Kaiser was known for somebody who just bell out orders, and he's like, I'm not like that. I'm very composed. I'm very philosophical. You fuck mention my sister. What the fuck's wrong with you? What?
I don't think that's worth comparing. The idea that we're just mocking Rudolph because Rudolph turned out to be a certain type of guy, despite what his intentions were at the beginning.
Or so he claimed.
No, that's what history claimed. Every time when we talk about him, even Yang talks good about Rudolph's beginnings. It's what Rudolph turned into. So it's not even, look, if you're not going to trust your own dude, I don't know what to say at that point. Your own dude who wanted to be a historian, who you keep leaning on the fact that he watched TV. All right, my final note. The conversation at the end with Voltic had all the energy of a Dragon Ball Z abridged episode where Vegeta usually spits out the line, "I know you're playing me," but Vezin is presenting Reinhardt with a beneficial situation that could really help him out in the long term as it aligns with his already existent plans. But the thing is that it comes from the outside and is ultimately a manipulation to cause him to do what another group wants, even if it is to be believed that they orchestrated it so that he would know that it was happening. It's essentially an Oberstein move without any of the elements that I appreciate about Oberstein. Oberstein doesn't manipulate.
Really?
Yeah, Oberstein just does a thing. Oberstein isn't like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that the thing goes out early. I'm going to make sure the thing gets there just in time to record everything. But then I'm also going to send like a runner who's going to be delayed to make you think that the thing is happening at a different time, so that then I can also say that the runner has a note that you need to contact me so I can let you know that I'm actually doing all of this. He doesn't go all around the circle with the thing. He just does it and then tells you that he did it after the fact. Oberstein is all about taking the blame for the shit that he does. That's what I'm saying. This is like convoluted spy movie shit that Vezin is doing. If Oberstein did this, he would have just had Erwin kidnapped, sent him over to the Alliance, said, "Hey, I got Erwin kidnapped. I sent him over to the Alliance. Now we have a justifiable reason to go to war for the Alliance, which I know you actually wanted to do, but weren't going to do. Now you can do it." That's what Oberstein would have done. This would have been a 5-minute conversation.
It still would be machinations, just with lesser steps.
No, like I said, it's not manipulation. They're manipulating Reinhardt. Oberstein would have just, I know what I'm going to say, you're going to say overstep or some shit. Wouldn't have been manipulation, because he wouldn't have entered Reinhardt into it at any point.
Until the situation is accomplished, and then Reinhardt has to deal with the situation. Like, oh, fuck now.
Yeah, that's not manipulation.
Okay. It is if you manipulate the scenario before it happens the way you want it to.
Okay, that's two different definitions of the word. I'm not saying he's not manipulating Reinhardt as a person. Manipulating a situation, lessons, you do that every day. Well, you want me to jump into the argument of you manipulating your keyboard right now while you're typing? Just a third definition of manipulating? I'm saying he doesn't manipulate in the term that we're talking about, in the term of what Vezin is doing with Reinhardt. They introduced these agents, who I guess we still suppose are going to kidnap Erwin. Then they set up another agent to out those agents, so that then Reinhardt would be able to figure out what's going on the Vezin side of things, so that then the commissioner for Vezin, not for Vezin, for the Empire in Vezin, can then talk to Reinhardt about what Vezin's actually up to once they've determined that he doesn't matter. Once they determine that what he's actually up to in the element of you figured out plot A to plot B, so let's talk about plot C, because we're manipulating every fucking thing. And my point is that if Oberstein would do it, Oberstein would just, hey, let's set up some guys to kidnap Erwin and then send him on a ship to the Alliance, and then I'll just go talk to Reinhardt afterwards. Hey, this is what happened. I did it. Now you have an opportunity to do this other thing. It's not manipulating him versus plot A, plot B, plot C that Vezin is fucking up to.
Same thing, different steps. Less steps.
No. You're never going to have a breath where I won't be able to interrupt you and say no.
You can say no, but it's still there.
Oh, thank you, Daddy.
That was gross.
You're the one who said some weird ass shit. You always say no, but it's always there. Who the fuck says that? You got the response you wanted coming.
Gross. That's so gross. Oh my god. Oh no. Talking about Vezin. This is Reinhardt saying, Vezins are realists in the worst sense of the word. Really, Reinhardt? I think there would be several million people who disagree if their bones were not bleaching on the radioactive sky. That is.
Those who are silent are known to acquiesce.
That was like, oh, I wasn't talking. That's not the point. I'll talk about the point.
Answer your questions.
He's criticizing Vezin. I mean, he's not wrong about Vezin. It's like, oh, they're the realists to the worst kind of degree. It's like, yeah, here's a mirror. Check yourself out, bro. Okay, cool.
One thing, wrong. Because you're blaming Reinhardt for, again, what I feel like Oberstein is guilty of.
Oberstein is his
advisor.
he's his right hand man.
No,
So
remember,
yeah,
there are no second in commands. Also
they
a
say
thing that
that, but
Oberstein
really,
set up.
yeah. But I think Oberstein ultimately is the second.
As we've already covered and has been referenced in comment response, Oberstein doesn't have the authority to overstep other people. It's the fact that other people respect Oberstein and know that he is doing what's best for the Empire, that they follow his suggestions. You remember right after Siegfried died, and they were like, we don't know what to do? And, oh, isn't it convenient that now the advisor walks into the room, and then they just immediately do what he says, because he makes sense? We all know that Oberstein has the best intentions for the Empire at heart, and he's not doing anything for his own good. Legitimately, he's not getting anything out of all of the stuff that he does other than making the Empire better, which is, where he fucking lives. So, otherwise, he's jumping in front of rocket launchers and taking the blame for shit that's very tangentially his fault. Like the entire plan to take out Iserlohn with Geiersberg. Predominantly, he has nothing to do with that, other than I think he suggested talking to Shaft at some point. Shaft, I can't remember his fucking name.
Shaft.
Yeah, but spelled slightly different. I keep thinking that maybe I shouldn't say it the same way as that big black dick. Just talking about Shaft.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Anyway, it's the element that he's barely even involved in any of that. But the moment it all goes wrong, who's the one walking to the office apologizing and saying he'll take all the blame? Again, you think Oberstein is a pile of shit who does nothing good, but he's literally the front line of anything between Reinhardt and everybody. Legitimately jumps in front of a rocket launcher for him, takes the blame for things that he's barely even responsible for.
Anyway, that was my note. Your note? I will continue. If Schumacher noticed that they were being watched, he might change the plan to something else. He certainly doesn't trust his Pheasant handlers and predicts that they will do what they will do later in the episode. Then again, he might use a message from Rubinsky to directly link him to the plans as a bargaining chip of some sort, or simply a poison pill. What really checks both sides might well be what happens to Pheasant if word becomes public about their involvement in this plot. Because we know Reinhardt will know what's happening. They are going to have a conversation. So telling Reinhardt, yes, Pheasant is involved, like, yeah, I know that. That guy right
also,
there.
Also, their offices being watched.
Yeah. So.
But just also the element that we already discussed part of this with my previous notes. But two, the thing that I'm paying most attention to is the fact that, once again, we will never call a person by the same name, apparently. I call him Leopold.
Yeah.
So when you said Schumacher, or whatever you said.
Yeah, Leopold Schumacher.
Yeah. It's like, who the fuck are you talking about? I started thinking about those asteroids that impacted Jupiter. Schumacher Levy 9. Named after the two people who discovered them. Yeah. So across multiple shows, we will never call most of the characters the same name. What's that? Their first name has 2 letters in it, and their last name has 17 letters in it? Well, I'm calling them I, and you're calling them whatever the fuck that last name is.
Okay, my second to last note then. We spent too much time with Aunt Rose here, more than we have in any episode previous to, for her not to be a target as well.
By who?
Don't know. Could be the conspirators, but
turns out it was Hildy the entire time.
No, I don't think it was Hilda.
She snuck in. She's so focused on that fucking pillow because she put a bomb in it.
Small bomb. But this is a future small bomb could blow up the entire place.
Or, he fucking sleeps there with a pillow with a bomb in it. I'm just saying, it'd be a great cover. Not for the fact, again, that we had a spoiler narrator from Gaiden that they'll be together. Unless this is the limit of being together that they'll be, because technically they are together.
Yeah, working together.
Yeah, they're in the same room together. It's changing the definitions, like talking about manipulation.
Well, my last note then. Pheasant plan seems like a good one, but Reinhardt's counteroffer seems like a hedge against it, since he would already have forces stationed within Pheasant, which apparently the Empire doesn't have, and Pheasant relies on its own defense forces, apparently, to correct the situation. It has to be that way, because otherwise, why would the...
there must be forces on Pheasant.
Yeah, but not Imperial ones.
That's no, there have to be Imperial ones.
No, that's the whole thing. The conversation doesn't make any sense.
No, there would have to be. Like you're saying it's the whole thing. It's not the whole thing. One thing, there must be a Imperial embassy, which would have its own defense forces.
Yeah,
There is
but I'm
the
talking
Imperial
about
Commissioner on Pheasant, which would have his own security detail. So there are Imperial forces on Pheasant.
yeah, but that's compared to not enough to take over a planet, for example.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. They might have a plan for it. Who's to say that they wouldn't have a plan to, I don't know, just suddenly kidnap a president and take it to a foreign country? Who would do that?
Yeah, you need more than just 5 guys. Those are the guys at the end of the operation, not everything that comes with it.
Well, you just made up that it was 5 guys. I said it's a whole embassy's worth of crew. And
Yeah,
again,
no,
a security detail for the Imperial Commissioner on Pheasant. And who's to say that they don't actually have other people living there? You know, the
yeah,
same
I'm
way that
saying that.
Pheasant has agents in the Empire that are just pretending to be Imperial citizens, who's to say the Empire doesn't just have a detachment of people living on Pheasant waiting to be activated?
Yeah, but again, the conversation doesn't make any sense, and the Reinhardt would ask permission to cross through peasant
Because they're an
territory.
autonomous territory, as has been covered like 5 times across the
Exactly.
last 80
So
episodes.
if you already have bases and logistics and everything in Pheasant, you don't have to ask for permission. Like, oh, we're just sending our forces to our base, right?
Why are you saying they have bases?
Well, that's what I'm talking about, forces, right?
Yeah, we'll never say anything about them having forces there.
That's my point.
No, I said that they had troops there. You're talking about, like, we have a military base for, like, supply our ships and whatnot, which we know that they don't have.
Yeah,
As
'cause they
I
don't
had
have
to remind
permission
you
to cross,
earlier, we had the whole Pheasant Corridor episode guide episodes.
which
Which,
means
although
that probably
technically they
Pheasant.
did get supplies from there, so maybe there are.
I think they bought them though.
No, there was a agent on Pheasant who managed to get a supply thing there. But remember, it was the whole thing about the speed that they were going, that the supplies had to be dumped in front of them and they had to collect them. But
Yeah,
still, that
so
came
they
from Pheasant via an
probably
Imperial
bought.
agent there. So clearly, there must be something.
Well, they bought the supplies and then rented a transport and dropped the
I
supplies.
don't think so. I don't think that's what happened. It was explained to us, but it was explained to us like 50 episodes ago. So
Otherwise, a supply ship just rocks up. It's like, oh, here you go. Boop.
yeah, but it came from Pheasant because it was not enough time for it to come all the way through the Empire and go through the Pheasant corridor and reach them.
In other words, if they were Imperial depots or depots in Pheasant, they just launch one of their own Imperial ships, come up to the fleet, resupply them, and
Okay,
they'll
hold
be
on.
on
Let me
their
see if I
way.
can do this in your voice. That's what I'm saying.
And yes, that's
To
what I'm
your
saying.
point about there not being any bases or anything like that of Imperial origin in Pheasant,
They're not.
except that you just painted a scenario where there were.
But that's not what happened.
That's not what happened. Sorry, I'm trying to get your voice down. That's not what happened.
That's not what happened.
Except that is what happened in that episode.
No, they have to have an agent. If you don't, if you have to need an agent, it's like, oh, let me call an agent. It's like, would you go call the supply sergeant?
I think you'll
For this,
find if
or
I
do you-
call my insurance agent, he's still American.
Yeah, but if you're the army, you call the supply depot, and that's it. You don't call your supply agent in Canada. You're like,
I
yeah,
don't know.
no,
Maybe
you
the
have
closest person to contact was the supply agent who then contacted the depot.
the whole thing doesn't appear to be that. That's how it happened. I would have to go back to.
But yeah,
college.
I'm saying you're saying that based on, again, 50 episodes ago. Yeah, I'm just
Well, that
throwing
was
shit out
not.
there too. I'm not saying that I'm 100% right. I'm just saying that there was a thing that happened in the Pheasant corridor involving supplies and whatnot to a ship in need. I don't even remember what the point of this whole conversation was anymore.
My point of conversation was that the plan was good, but that Reinhardt saying that they needed permission to move forces
Oh, they don't
through the
need
Pheasant
permission.
corridor.
All right, I disagreed with you from moment one. I don't think the plan is good. So I was already thinking, no. The plan sucks. Again, it's like 15-point plan.
No. I'm talking about Reinhardt's counter offer, right? Okay, I'll go along with this as long as you give me permission.
Yeah, because
to
it'll be open
move.
acceptance to allow the Empire to go through the Pheasant corridor. It's bad without that. You're acting like they're being forced. You're being forced in the act of, I'm asking you. We can fight about this if you want. That's your choice. But the idea being that if Pheasant publicly allows the Empire to travel through the corridor, that's a boon in the publicity department. They don't have to do that. In fact, they could just say, hey, we're going to start sending forces through the Pheasant corridor. Don't do anything. That's not what he's asking, though. What he's asking for is, hey, make an agreement. We can make a private agreement. That's not what he's asking for. That could have been on the table. He wants it to be known that the Empire has free reign through the corridor.
Which would not be necessary if they could have done it anyway.
That's what I just said. Listen, somebody said 3 times.
But they couldn't do it before.
They could have done it before.
Which
you say, okay, you're enacting all this shit with your plan to put me in charge of the universe, galaxy, whatever. Cool. Well, you've made yourself a part of shit. So now here's what we want. And now this is going to be made a public agreement that now Pheasant is allowing us to travel through there. Instead of, hey, let's do this through subterfuge like you've been doing, and we're just going to start traveling through the corridor, and you just don't say anything about it. That's not the way that they went, though, because there's a benefit to having a publicly agreed agreement.
The question is then, why hasn't the Empire in the last 150 years tried to do something like this before? What was stopping them?
Money. Pheasant owns about 60% of the economy of the Empire. As per that chart that we saw, showing how bad off the Alliance is versus how well the economy of the Empire is doing.
Yeah, I have to go back to the graphic and see whether or not.
I mean, it was like, what, 5 episodes, 6 episodes back?
Yeah.
No, maybe more than that. Sorry. I can't. It was before the Geiersberg shit.
Yeah.
Because it was showing how bad the Alliance was. Like, here's the graph from a couple of years ago, and here's the graph now, and the Alliance is like shrunk up. Whereas, obviously, if the Alliance one shrinks up, it's a pie chart. So that means the Empire one got bigger, and so Pheasant got bigger too. But the act that Pheasant is in such. The fact that Pheasant owns basically so much of the Alliance at this point that if they stop funding them, the Alliance is just going to crumble. And they don't for the Empire, but enough that it will hurt the Empire that if they were to stop. So, the element of being isolationist, I guess. That if the Empire messed with Pheasant, essentially they would become isolationist because they wouldn't have any economy outside of themselves to barter with. In which case, maybe the Imperial economy isn't set up for that. That when all you have is, back then, nobles who take, and are unconcerned with the peasantry. That maybe the peasantry, I'm trying to come up with a word here, maybe it's trickle-in economics? That what a peasant can't afford, or probably is more likely a lower middle class of imperial system is able to afford comes from the outside. And everything trickles up towards the nobility.
I mean, stuff that people like Reinhardt's family could afford.
Right, that's what I'm suggesting now. The element that, why didn't they do this to Pheasant? Because they're rich off of Pheasant. Why would you destroy the source of your wealth? Also, Pheasant's not that old, as we've covered before.
50 years, I think?
Pretty sure I closed my thing, did I? Yes, I did. No, somewhere on the time thing. I also know that I've spelled Pheasant 2 different ways throughout the show.
Yeah, because the subtitles is also done in multiple ways.
Yeah, usually it's PH or F. Yeah, it's not in the P. It's not in the F. 793 in January, Reinhardt escapes Alliance territory with experimental directional cephalon projector aided by Imperial military liaison officer at Pheasant. So it was a military officer at Pheasant, wasn't an agent. Lieutenant Junior Grade Neidhart. Mueller. Oh, Mueller. That can't be that Mueller. It has to be a different Mueller. I don't think that our Mueller's name is Neidhart. Huh. I don't think I have a thing about when Pheasant was... Hold on. Maybe I put it under Rubinsky. Probably was in a note that I deleted and didn't add to the table. Oh, Grimmelshausen was that guy's name, by the way. Oh, there it is. I spelled it a third way, apparently. 648. Pheasant was established in 648. About 338 years after the founding of the Empire. About 200 years after the founding of the Alliance.
But just before the start of the war, though, right?
I'm trying to figure out where I would have written that. Oh, that's right. The Battle of Dagoon, which was 640. So it was formed 8 years after the start of the war. Which conceivably is an oddity. Well, we know that the Isilon corridor would have existed without Isilon in it, and the Pheasant corridor would have existed without Pheasant in it at the start of the war. Just 2 empty-ass corridors. And then 8 years after the start of the war, Pheasant is established as an imperial autonomous territory. So conceivably, a march. Sort of. It's an autonomous territory, but I mean, technically it's an Imperial autonomous territory. You could have given it to a marquee and made it a march.
Which is designed to protect the frontier.
Yeah.
So that probably was the original.
In this case, we've established a autonomous group with not a military to protect that area. And then later on the way, built a fortress in the other one. It's just funny to consider that both of those corridors were empty at the start of the war.
Yeah, those were in my notes, by the way.
All right, well, I guess if that's everything, then nothing left to do but to hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Oh, we get an intro music. I mean, it's the same one we get before.
Oh, well, since we typically only get a single intro music.
Yeah. No, but we've been skipping it.
By the way, I like this interpretation of what they're saying. The first line goes across in every age, but you know how you say that, right? Then the next line goes.
I don't think that's supposed to be the song.
It's the operatic translation of what's being read.
See, I think this is the song.
I think that's supposed to be Bobby's girl.
Oh, yeah. I thought it's a kind of poem or something.
Bobby's girl. You know, I mean, I linked it into the chat. It was like, good song. Not even, actually, it's not a good song at all, but it's kind of like that earworm status. And thankfully, hopefully, future me has remembered to schedule that in one of the Legend of Galactic Hero slots, because that's what it was recorded for.
Yeah.
Even though technically it's Maudu Zushi that we really need to catch up with. Well, even more so now. Today was supposed to be oh shit, I have to even think about that. For the element, I think that we might be like caught up on it on YouTube side. So
yeah,
we might have to do a lot of Maudu Zushi in the future.
See if the kidnapping goes according. Oh, that's a big palace.
I hate that last episode. Last episode, they referenced the name of the place and no building can be taller than it. And no, 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And then this episode, they're like, by the way, this is what that place was, in case you forgot.
Yeah.
だが、ローエングラム体制になってからは、宮廷費の大幅な削減に伴って、西園と北園は閉鎖され、東園と南園においても建物の半数が閉じられている。一部の形式的国事行為以外の政治的実務は、すべて最小府で決済されており、政治中枢としての機能は果たしていない。また、大貴族のほとんどが、前年のリップシュタット戦役で敗北した。パーティーや園遊会の類も激減し、一日ごとに孤独な廃屋の趣すら見せ始めていた。
ノイエ算数士の中は意外に防犯設備が整っていないのだ。宮廷は無粋な機械などで警備するのではなく、近衛によって守られるべきものだとされていてな。
It's Oceans 2.
Yeah, okay, this clearly was a redraw of all this, because these guys look pretty different.
そういうことだな。中に入ったら私が案内役を務めよう。私は幾度となく宮廷に出入りしている。
Oh, you think that's a laser ring?
Could be.
Now that we've been introduced to those.
それに宮殿の各所には秘密の通路や隠し部屋が作られている。
Why are you whispering? It's just us.
その全てを実施しているわけではあるまい。
To your own face off, holding, scratching your chin.
これを見たまえ。この帝国博物学協会の地下から北園の西園寄りを通って南園のジギスムント一世像の下に出る通路が確かにある。
Isn't that fact that we just covered that was like 400 kilometers?
時の皇帝陛下の勅命を受けてその工事に当たったのだ。その時皇帝陛下の御身に気球のことある時はこの通路を使って救出せよとのかたじけない誤情を賜ったのだ。私がこういう大役を果たさねばならないことは5代も前に定まっていたのだ。 消えんというしかないな。
Well, there you go. Now we know why
博
him.
物学協会に侵入する方法ですな。まあ、宮殿自体に侵入するよりははるかに容易ですが、陽動が必要です。
I guess they do have robots, I guess. They mentioned machines, so.
施設の破壊工作を
Oh, yeah, security
警備
robots?
関係者の関心をそちらに向かせるのです。
I don't think so.
悪くない考えだとは思うが、ローエングラム校は切れ者だぞ。我々の意図を見抜くかもしれん。
ですがやってみて損はありません。
だが誰にやらせると
We
いう
could die.
私としてはフェザー
It's harm in
の
trying.
それをやってもらおうと考えているのですが。
そんな無理は言えんだろう。彼らは我々の崇高な目的に側面から協力してくれている。差し当たってそれで十分じゃないか、大佐。
そうですな。多くを望むわけにはいかないかもしれませんな。
金髪の小僧め、途方もない恫喝を加えてきよった。
とおっしゃると。
つまりこうだ。奴が同盟と結んでフェザンを軍事的に征服すること。
Fezin cannot have so much force as to be requiring an alliance with the alliance. Or the name got me there for a second.
ありえないことです。
それがそうでもないのだ。奴が我々の皇帝亡命計画の真の意図を同盟に暴露すれば、フェザンを帝国と同盟の共通の敵とすることも、これは不可能ではない。
I just don't see what the need would be to go to the alliance.
とかく行動に原則性を欠く同盟の権力者どもが不細もろともフェザーンを消滅させてしまおうと考えたとしても。
Oh, yeah, that way they would do it, yeah.
どうなさいます弁務官。
どうすると
I mean, conversely, if you're about just fuck off to the Fezin, you can just ignore your debts.
そちらの顔を決め込みます。また後日もあるということで。
いや、それでは本国にいるケッセルリンクあたりを喜ばせるだけだ。それにフェザン回廊の通行権に関してもまだ交渉の余地はある。何よりあの利口ぶった金髪の小僧が知らぬ巨大な秘密がフェザーンには、いやこの宇宙には存在するのだ。まだまだ逆転の余地はある。
Talking about the Church of Terror. Yep, there you go.
That was more on the fact that I believe they're still in Imperial territory while they're discussing this, so...
で、どうなさいます？フェザーンの申し出に応じて皇帝を誘拐させるおつもりですか？
正直言っていささか持て余しているのも事実だからな。やらせてみるのも一興だとは思っている。
では、宮殿の警備を手薄にいたしましょうか。
その必要はない。今でも厳重すぎるほどの警備をしているわけではない。そんなこともできぬ奴らとまともに手を組めるか。
御意。
それに、手を組むかどうかは奴らが成功してからの話だ。
I mean, I like that. Good test for him.
足がかりとする。だが失敗したときは皇帝誘拐の罪をならしてフェザーンそのものを討伐する。
そこまでお考えでしたか。
当然だ。フェザーンの奴ら私を甘く見た報いをくれてやる。そうだオーベルシュタイン。ケスラーの憲兵隊とは別に秘密裏にヘボ詩人たちを監視しろ。手を出す必要はないがフェザーンが計画を変更して口封じをすることもあり得る。その時は助けよ。
助けておけば何かと役立つこともありましょう。それは良いのですが、皇帝が誘拐されれば宮殿の警備責任者は当然ながら罪を問われることになりますな。
モルト中将のことか。
彼には命をもって罪をあがなってもらわねばなりますまい。
I don't know who that is. I don't remember his name.
モルト中将は古風な男です。たとえ各官をお許しになったとしても、ご好意に甘んじるを潔しとしますまい。
わかった。仕方あるまい。 その時はモルトに責任を取らせよう。だがモルト一人にだ。他には
Conversely, we just throw somebody in there that we don't like.
ケスラーは得難い男だし、憲兵総監まで重罪とあっては兵士たちが動揺するだろう。開国と元宝、その程度でよい。
閣下、お耳を押しながら一つだけ申し上げておきます。一本の木も一個の石も避けずに密林に道を開くことはできませんぞ。
その程度のことを私がわきまえていないとでも思っているのか。
とおっしゃいますが、 時として閣下はごく初歩的なことをお忘れになるように召喚には思われます。すべての英雄は敵だけでなく、味方の大量の屍の上にこそ玉座を築いてきたのです。白い手をした王者など存在しませんし、部下たる者もそれは承知しております。時には死を与えることが忠誠に報いる道となることもあるのだとお考えいただきたい。
Is that Oberstein says the shit that you would say, and you hate him.
Yes, and you shouldn't do this shit. That's the thing. I don't
Yeah,
like him
he's
because
warning
he's
him
doing...
the same way that you would say, like, you know, all tyrants are built up on looking, you know, the bodies of those who came before. Like, yeah, God, I fucking hate that guy. Says the things I can't put in my own notes now. I would have preferred it if his eyes had flickered while he was talking. Because remember, he's supposed to have faulty fake eyes.
Yeah.
They haven't been faulty in forever. It also would have been great, you know, talking about everybody that Reinhardt is going to have to sacrifice if he intends to achieve his goal. And then, like, the flaw being expressed by the flickering of his eyes would have been good visual metaphor.
弁務官事務所にそれはまずい。隠れ家も脱出する船も用意するが、それ以上は。
これが最低限の条件だ。せめてこれぐらいの共犯の事実がないと信用するわけにはいかんからな。もし承知してもらえぬということであれば、こちらも自分の身の安全を確保するため、しかるべき処置を取る。
やむを得ぬようだな。わかった。その代わり言うまでもないな。
Yeah, remember he had the Dalmatian?
いや、ローエングラム港から今一度呼び出しがあるはずだ。アルコールはやめておこう。は？私が出る。
総参謀長殿、ローエングラム港が至急のお召しです。港はまだ軍務省においでですので、ご出頭願います。
承知した。
では。
I was about to make a joke about how large the buttons were. Like, it was like, for those people who have a hard time seeing. It's like, oh wait, that's right, he's fake eyes.
予測していなければこれほど早く呼び出しに応じられまい。
恐れ入ります。エルウィン・ヨーゼフ陛下に代わる新しい皇帝の人選、お考えにならぬはずはないと思っておりました。
K のことだ。候補者について何らかの心当たりがあるだろう。
先々帝オトフリート5世の第三皇女の孫がおります。父親はペグニッツ子爵ですが、昨年の内乱には参加しておりません。象牙細工の収集以外に何の興味もない男です。女子ですが、この際女帝もよろしいかと。
年齢は
Which again suggests why didn't the other two girls get picked?
7歳の皇帝が逃げ出し、後を継ぐのは片言も喋れぬ血のみ子か。
で、どうなさいます？他の候補者を探すことにいたしますか？
よかろう、その赤ん坊に玉座を。
I half expected him to go, I don't know, maybe make me the Kaiser.
そういうおもちゃを持っている子供が宇宙に一人ぐらいはいてもいいだろう。二人は多すぎるがな。
かしこまりました。ところでペグニッツ子爵ですが、象牙細工の代金が一部未払いのままだそうで、商人から民事訴訟を起こされています。どう処置いたしましょう？
金額は
75,000帝国マルクです。
和解させろ。新帝の父親が借金取りに追われるのでは様にならなすぎる。宮内省の
Also, you know, kind of like your own story there for a little. A little Yang story too. So have we hit the thing that's going to shake both the Alliance and the Empire yet, or is it just going to be Erwin's kidnapping?
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to fail. Maybe he's going to get killed in the middle of the kidnapping. That's going to be the thing.
ところで、例のランズベルク伯たちの件ですが、ご命令通りに監視を解きました。
その件はそれでよい。
では、私は憲兵隊の守備を確かめてまいります。
Somebody lets him with her. He's really bosses him around.
いやよい、頼んだぞ。
Yeah, he's chief of staff.
He's gonna sacrifice Kessler.
No, he's just sacrificed Model.
No, but remember that Kessler will take the
予定通り憲兵隊は我々の用意した餌に食いついたようです。そうか、彼らの方もそろそろのはずだな。はい、私は博物学協会の前で待機します。
It creeps me out. Like the Imperial Joker with no makeup on.
Yeah.
His face is just so fucking extreme, and it's always Rich's smile almost. I have the power! Not with your flashlight on, my man. Blinded. Legitimately no one else in the place?
大佐、ここにおわすのは全宇宙を統治したも皇帝陛下なるぞ。陛下、私めは陛下の真にてランズベルク伯アルフレッドと申します。 陛下を関心の手からお救いするために参上いたしました。非常の場合でありますれば、ご無礼の数々はどうかご容赦くださいますよう、神明を捨てて陛下のお供をつかまつることで神羅の償いとさせていただきます。ここにいると
But he's now a spoiled brat, I guess. Angry.
I mean, he probably always
Can't
was a
have it.
spoiled brat.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be there at his own coronation, remember?
どうします伯爵。
やむを得ない。恐れ多いことながら。
陛下、どうかなさいましたか。陛下。
Don't even check to see if she didn't die right there.
とんだ茶番劇だ。
It legitimately could have been a heart attack.
Yeah.
Half expected her to go, oh, thank God. Yeah, God, that kid's away from here.
そのすぐに連絡がございますればよろしいございましたが、あいにくにも本日は助官長も下がっておりまして、当直の者には判断に余りましてせの。
皇帝陛下はいずこにおます、それのみを聞いておる。
でございますから、森役の助官が申しまするには、見慣れぬ若い御人がお二人、陛下をいずこかへお連れ申し上げたと。
なぜそれを早く言わぬか。直ちに宮殿内の捜索にかかれ。各ゲートの警備を固め、何人たりとも外に出すな。物もだ。一切の搬出を禁ずる。ただし、ことがことだ。陛下を
And you better make sure you search those underground hallways that we all know about.
構えて他言無用に願いますぞ、侍従殿。
残留熱量の測定で奇怪な業績を発見いたしましたが、ジースムント一世陛下の銅像の下に消えております。おそらくは地下道が外部に通じていることと思われますが、恐れ多くも皇帝陛下の像に手をかけても良いものかどうか、私どもでは判断に余ります。
Yeah, yeah. I was like, why the fuck not? I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's the whole point that we're still keeping up the Kaiser thing.
帝都から郊外に出るすべての道路で検問を実施。捜査に憲兵隊も動員しろ。しかし、何者が。
Wrong blonde guy.
No, he's connecting one with the other.
Why are we
He's
keeping
like,
track of the
that-
time? We've never kept track of the time in this show.
おお、早いなフロイライン。休んでいても構わなかったの。
いえ、秘書官として当然でございます。
ケスラー、私に罪を詫びることより刑にはなすべき責務があろう。陛下を帝都よりお出しするな。
は。
モルト中将、明日の、いや、すでに今日だな。正午に刑への処分を通知させる。それまで執務室で謹慎し、身辺を整理しておけ。思い残すことのないように。
はあ。
フロイライン、何か私に言いたいことがあるようだが。
私は先日申し上げたことがあります。フェザーンが工作員を送り込んでくるとしたら、目的はおそらく誘拐であり、その対象も特定できると。
ああ、覚えている。
閣下は兄君のために山荘の警備を強化なさいました。それは当然のことです。
But you didn't do anything about the palace.
警護を怠り、ミスミス侵入者の手に委ねたのは不思議と申し上げるしかありません。
で、フロイラインの結論は？
私は思います。ローエングラム公はフェザーンと手をお組みになり、わざと皇帝を誘拐させたのだと。違いますか？
違わない。ただ、今少し性格を期するなら、奴らとフェザーンと手を組んだわけではない。奴らを利用するだけだ。
フェザーンを手玉に取ろうと。
Well, remember, he had a whole plan to betray them if they failed to do this.
では、自由惑星同盟に対して大規模な軍事行動を起こされるおつもりですのね。
そうだ。だがそれは党に定まっていたことで、時期が多少早まるというだけのことでしかない。しかも立派な大義名分ができることになる。
モルト中将を犠牲になさるのも、その壮大な戦略の一環です。
Apparently, yeah.
遺族に不自由はさせない。
Not that different from that came before.
I mean, it is different.
Really?
Well, hold
Sacrificing
on a second.
people
Let
just
me match
because?
you here. Yes.
リュッケン。
Really?
刑に事後処理を任せる。モルトの名誉を損なわぬように。それと遺族の保護に気を配るように。はっ。
You know, last Kaiser would have done that.
Yeah, have him drink poison or something, and that's it. You know, to
No,
get it all the time.
last Kaiser wouldn't have your family seen too, or see that your reputation was fine, unless you were sleeping with him.
上級大将と大将の階級を持つ提督たちを集めてくれ。
かしこまりました。
Which one?
ローエングラム公。
Senior Admiral or Admiral?
ノイエ山数市で今夜ささやかな事件があった。7歳の子供が何者かに誘拐されたのだ。ケスラーに捜索させているが、
Okay, you mucklinger with that fucking 70s porn stash.
意見を聞いて今後の事態の発展に対応したい。遠慮なく発言せよ。
犯人は門閥貴族の残党。目的は残党を救護して勢力の回復を図ること。これは自明でしょう。
それにしても皇帝陛下を誘拐したてまするとは、門閥貴族派の組織力行動力も侮れませんな。首謀者は誰でしょうか。
いずれ判明することだ。犯人が捕まればケスラーが自白させる。捕まらなければ犯人自身がとくとくとして自らの功を誇るだろう。皇帝が自分たちの手中にあることを公にしなければ、そもそも誘拐の目的が達せられないのだからな。
その通りだと。
They can advertise it. You don't have to wait for you to advertise it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, that he will have to advertise it. Not them, but the kidnappers.
あるいは皇帝を盾にして我々の攻撃をかわすつもりかもしれん。無益なことだがな。
そうだな。だが少なくとも当面は我々の追及を逃れる生産があるのだろう。その自信の根拠は何だ。帝国内にいる限り我が軍の探索や攻撃を回避できるはずがない。
あるいは辺境に人知れず根拠地でも気づいているのだろうか。
とすれば差し詰め
Or could they be hiding in an embassy right under our noses?
第2のと言わず自由惑星同盟の存在をこの際考慮に入れるべきだろう。門閥貴族の残党どもと共和主義者では水と油に見えるが、ローエングラム公が覇権を確立するのを妨害するという、ただそれだけの目的のために野合しないとは言い切れぬからな。犯人どもが自由惑星同盟に逃げ込めば、確かにそう簡単に。
At least they're using the Free Planets Alliance openly. They're not saying the rebels anymore.
ロイエンタールの言ったように、遠からず皇帝の所在は明らかになろう。今請求に結論を出すのは避けたいが、もし同盟がこの不定な企てに加担していると、
now they're calling them rebels.
Of course, you are the rebels.
奴らは一時の欲に駆られて対局を誤ったと後悔に打ちひしがれることになるだろう。皇帝不在の間はご病気ということで取り繕う。また国事はなお最小府に保管してあるゆえ、差し当たって国政に支障はない。ケイラには私から2つのことのみを要求する。一つは皇帝誘拐の一件を口外せぬこと。今一つはいつでも機下の艦隊を出動可能な状態にしておき、後日の急に備えること。この2点をだ。他のことは必要があり次第よって指示する。夜も明けぬうちからご苦労であった。解散してよろしい。
どうだ、うちへ寄って朝食をとっていかないか。
そうだな。
The wife's gonna be out.
魂がそうさせてもらおうか。
素直なのはいいことだ。
たまにはな。
それにしてもローエングラム公がこの一大事に動じていらっしゃらないのはさすがだな。
Because it's not an emergency for him.
Yeah, but I mean, it's maintaining the facade that he's always had before Siegfried's death. The classic "Who stands to gain?"
遠からず空前の疾病があるかもしれんな。
I mean, arguably, we've already indicated there's still Kaiser's relations out there who would still stand to gain outside of all this.
あのヤン・ウェンディと。
宇宙歴798年、帝国歴489年7月7日、一人の子供が誘拐された。それは確かにささやかな事件かもしれなかった。だが、それが全人類社会にいかなる影響を投げかけるのか。この時点で知り得るものはほんの一握りであった。
May? Last episode, they were saying something about the year being halfway over. They didn't give a date. Now they're giving a date. So it's like, okay, I guess that was last month.
Yep. That slippery slope is getting slippery.
Yeah, it's not a slippery slope at all.
Yes, it is.
It's not. Why is it slippery, Lessons?
Because it's acting more and more like the old Empire.
He's not. Okay, he's acting more, but I mean, he's acting so incrementally as to not even be slippery. You're like, if you are, I don't know why I'm doing this way, but if our measurement is from a staircase, a perfectly reasonable walkable staircase, to the ice staircase from Home Alone, the first droplets of water have touched the staircase by comparison to what the old Kaiser was like. This is like one guy. The old Kaiser were throwing dozens of, thousands of people under the bus, right? This is like just one dude.
That's how you start. Or they already started.
Okay, so?
Wasn't the whole point to reform the empire?
Yeah. And what's Oberstein's point? But sometimes you got to do a lot before you can make big change.
More of the same.
What did Reinhardt say? Hey, if you want to come for the throne, come for the throne. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, paused. Sorry, I was doing one of these, both hands off the controls, and I was about to go to the next episode preview. I mean, he's like, if you want to come for the throne, come for the throne. He said it 3 times now.
So, civil war now is the way you get power in the empire. Oh, that seems like an improvement.
I mean, it worked the last 2 times.
And that's how we ended up with the old empire.
And this one.
Exactly. So,
man, this one's better than the last one. So far, this plan has 100% success rate.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying sarcastically, Lessons. That is how the math pans out. It has been 100% success rate.
Yeah, we just murdered the guard of the palace because, well, it's convenient.
We didn't murder him. Just brought up on charges. Yeah, not for nothing, Lessons.
He's going to be executed.
Did he fail? Did he fail?
He failed at a plan that you set up to him to fail.
But he did fail. Like, legitimately, these guys did... No, wait. You said we set him up to fail. No, we should give him all the information. If we didn't know anything, right? Say that these people, like the whole Pheasant insider who gave us that information, we didn't pan that out. These 2 guys didn't get any help. Legitimately, Oberstein asked, he said, don't change anything. There's like no guards there to begin with. Legitimately, this is how it would have gone to begin with. These 2 guys did everything on their own, and they managed to do it. Like, there wasn't an Ocean's 11. There was an Ocean's 11. Reinhardt's like, make sure those guys don't go down that hallway. You know, none of that shit. These guys snuck in on their own, snuck out on their own.
Again, it's another scenario where he could have stopped it. We decided, nope, it's better to have the situation play out.
That doesn't matter. We're talking about the overall machinations of what's the Pheasant's thing going to be. At the end of the day, Malt still failed all on his own. He only showed up after the fact. He had full control of, hey, what's the guard, what do you call it, when they march around, make sure patrol. What's the guard patrol going to be like? Who's going to be stationed where? Who's going to be watching him? Like, that's what I said when they walked in the room. Like, there's nobody here? Like, that's all Malt. That has nothing to do with the plan here, because we already know that they did not change anything that Malt had. So, he would have failed in a normal scenario. Basically, this could have just been a test, and he would have failed.
Yes, it wasn't, and they knew about it. And again, it's like,
it doesn't matter.
We don't do it. We just allow.
Just
like allowing a planet to be destroyed. It's like, well, we could have stopped it, but no.
That's not what we're talking about. Either you're going to harp on it forever, Lessons. You're either going to harp on it forever.
Going to happen.
You know what? I'm just going to say, Lessons. You can say whatever you want about it. I'm not going to respond to the planet got nuked thing anymore. It's past. That's in the past. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
It's a pattern of behavior.
It's a pattern of behavior. It sure is.
A pattern of behavior.
So, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, Lessons. If you can't focus on the plot, I can't talk to you about the plot then. Your point was that they're throwing Malt under the bus, and I'm saying, no, Malt failed.
And Kessler as well, by the way.
No, Kessler is just getting a slap on the wrist and a pay decrease. They covered that already. It's very specifically did not want to throw Kessler under the bus. That's what leads to the Oberstein conversation of, you're going to have to not pull your punches with all these people, right? So, Malt is getting thrown under the bus because, somebody has to be.
The problem is, I would say that nobody has to be.
No, somebody has to be. Otherwise, it's going to be known that we are doing this on purpose.
You could not do it.
No, we have to do it. No, this is for the greater vision of what the Empire is going to be and what we have to do to take the galaxy. And it's like, do you not remember the plan, Lessons?
The galaxy thing,
Lessons, I feel like you like Yang so much, not because he doesn't do all this stuff, because all he wants to do is sit on his couch and watch TV. No, it's really easy to defend a guy who has no greater goal.
No, I mean, the greater goal is to conquer the galaxy, and I don't approve of
that. It's not Yang. I'm saying that's why you like Yang so much. So I'm just saying that the element is that you harp on the plan to conquer the galaxy, knowing that that's been the plan from the beginning.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I approve of it.
Well, then why even harp on it? Like, legitimately, just say, I don't know. Listen, I don't know what I'm about here. I'm actively asking you to stop talking about a thing that I need you to talk about. I don't know. It's the element that you just keep whinging about the same shit, and that's annoying to me. But I understand that this is a back and forth, so I have to have you talk about this. You just never bring anything new.
Because it's more of the same, basically. That's what's happening.
No,
Again,
it's all nuance and shit. And the element is that yes, somebody has to pay for the crime of the Kaiser being kidnapped, and you're like, why? And it's like, cause Malt failed, even if we told him, right? Malt failed, but we didn't tell him because it's not part of the plan. We want the corridor for Pheasant to be open, and we need Pheasant's economy. You're like, I don't know. I keep talking about the realistic situation versus your idealized situation. And it's like, you don't understand that these people exist. The thing is that this is the world that we live in. One person has been able to change it for the better, but that one person has goals. And that goal is given to their friend in their dying breath. So you just have to take it as given that that's going to be the thing being pursued. If your inability is, I can't take that as a given, that the thing he's promised his childhood friend in his last breath is going to be pursued at the cost of everything else, then there's not going to be much to talk about there. And I understand. I think you've made... Yeah, no, I get it. You're criticizing it because you are standing on an ethical and moral ground, which is unrealistic to what's going on. You're standing in the middle of a military junta doing a kangaroo court saying this isn't fair, and everyone is snickering around you because you're an idiot. I'm just saying that's my imagined scenario that this is likened to. You're saying that that's wrong, you can't do that, and everyone is sitting at you smiling and nodding while the executioner is getting ready to chop your head off.
I would have probably tried to launch a revolution to take on the junta, but yeah, that's beside the point.
Again, I guess if I'm creating the lesson, I'm saying that you're not a character in the world lessons. I'm saying that this is like the metaphorical, you've been snapped into a Star Trek weird planet, and I don't know. The element is that this is a scenario that I'm painting as a visual representation of your opinion of what's going on in the show. That this is what the Empire is like. It was worse before. It's better now, but it's still the Empire. And your opinion of what's fair, right, what should be happening is laughably innocent, apparently, to what's going on in the show. That you believe things are wrong because you believe them in your heart. Like, I don't know where you're coming from with this. Legally, they make the rules. They're in charge. They're in power. And the only way to unseat that power is to fucking kill them, as they've already indicated by themselves, and has been precedent twice now in the history of the Empire. And you're like, oh, well, that's good. Well, you know what? Sarcastic wit aside, that doesn't matter. That's just the reality. And if you don't accept the reality, then I don't know where the conversations that we can have are from.
I'm being the same thing. I'm critical of the Alliance, and when they screw up or do wrong things, I'm critical of the Empire as well.
I'm not saying you're not being fair about it. You've said this 100 times, and we've gone back and forth about that too. It's just the element is that in the Alliance, I don't fucking care because they're so fucking boring in the Alliance. It's literally shit happens, they suck, Yang solves it through miracles, because that's why he's called Miracle Yang. He just knows what the fuck is going to happen. And oh look, they fucked up enough that they screwed up. Like, I don't know. The Yang side of the story just sucks. I don't know how to say it other than that, because it's usually just, hey, what are me and my friends doing? Hey, you gotta get married. Have you talked to Jessica yet? Oh look, they're doing something happening over there. Oh, it looks like that was inspired by the Empire. Because anything interesting in the Alliance is inspired by the Empire.
Or the Church of Terror, I suppose. Or Pheasant.
No, the Church of Terror only hid Job. They didn't do anything. See, even the Church of Terror is only interesting on the Empire side. The Alliance Church of Terror just hit a guy. I'm just saying that all the interesting shit happens in the Empire, and it seems like every interesting thing that happens in the Empire, you hit with an unrealistic expectation. Because, we'll base it on something, right? The element is that this is the world that we live in.
I would have to collect my thoughts here in order to come back.
Yeah. I'm not like
without repeating myself.
I understand
here.
that this might seem like an assault on who you are or some shit, but I'm not like trying that. The element that I even started this with.
I need to make a coherent argument for what I'm trying to say right now. I'm not bringing one to the table, so.
And in your silence, it seems like I'm just harping on you for 20 minutes straight. And I'm not trying to make that the point. It's the element that I feel like all of our discussions about what's wrong with the Empire center back around on moral and ethical grounds. When, at the end of the day, how many episodes were you in on this? Like 80 something? That's not
with Gaiden, yeah.
Well, yeah. But the element is that's not where I guess we're 30 something episodes on the main show. That's just not applicable. You have to judge a world based on the world that you see, right? If we were watching, if this was like a Warhammer show, right? Would you still do on moral and ethical grounds? Because no, it's so far beyond that shit in Warhammer, right? You got to judge it based on the world. Like, well, we know that the Sisters of Mercy do this. It doesn't make sense when they do that, or this encounter happened here because based on what we know about how they treat people of this, right? You find your ground where your ground exists. So, in a world where you get like killed for genetic deficiencies and whatnot, and people get stabbed in the back left and right due to noble politics and whatnot, finding your ground on moral and ethics just doesn't make any sense.
But here's what I'm saying, isn't that the ultimate goal though? To make a better scenario, one where people are rewarded for their loyalty and their morality and their,
well, you're already wrong. Out of 2 points, you're already half wrong. Nothing was ever suggested about making a moral empire, just making a better empire for its people, which is already true. We've gotten rid of the nobility, and we've given their land and their money back to the people. People now have a freedom of speech and opinion.
Yeah, because we believe that those things were wrong when the empire, when the nobility was doing that. It was. But
we haven't judged anything on morals or ethics.
Oh, actually, no, because that's exactly what Reinhardt has said multiple times. Like, these people are rotten. They steal from their, from the peasants. They haven't earned what they have. There's a whole argument about.
No, I agree with you. The whole rotten thing, that was never couched in morals and ethics. I call things rotten all the time. I never judge how moral or ethical they are. That sucks. You might as well have said, that sucks. These people suck. And you know what? Could have been the fact they sucked the money out of the peasantry. For all we know, these people are rotten because they suck. There's never
judgment.
He never gives a moral judgment on anything. He doesn't look like when what's his name back in Gaiden. Remember the guy who threw himself off the cliff to save his family from being hanged because he might have been seen as a traitor? He doesn't say anything about the morals or ethics of that. He just sees that guy as a hurdle he had to get over and doesn't comment on it at all. That's apparently not one of the reasons why the Empire sucks.
And also the time when they intervened to stop that assault on that woman early on in Gaiden.
Yeah. What do they say about it?
Actually,
they have a physical problem with a bunch of men assaulting a woman. That scene. What is their commentary about it, though, when it gets brought back up with the commander of the base?
It's a failure in discipline.
So not a failure of the Empire as a whole, but the failure of this base and the discipline of its troops. As I said, they don't comment on the morals or the ethics of the Empire, in my memory right now, at all. They just see the greater problems of the Empire, which is the far-reaching problems of nobility and, what do they call it? Well, I can't remember his name. Not Merkins. Meerkats? The guy who goes to the Alliance.
Meerkats, yeah.
Yeah, he calls it a disease. I believe that's the same point of view that Kerchase and Reinhardt had, that the nobility was an illness of the Empire. That is not itself a read on the morality of the nobility or the ethics of nobility, but more they're a parasite on the social systems of which the Empire is founded upon.
Which is a systemic problem.
Yeah, but the read is that the nobility is not evil, but they're bad. The difference between bad and evil.
I think that's a distinction without difference myself, but yeah.
No, because you can be a stupid person, but it can be bad at their job. Does not make them evil.
Well, you can be both.
You can be, but you just said that so we're something without distinction. I'm saying there is a distinction. Plenty of these nobles we have seen are incompetent. Completely incompetent. It doesn't make them evil. You can be too stupid to be good. Yeah, so they're just following what they know. I think intent makes evil.
Yeah, they certainly had the intent to exploit people, murder them, and by the millions. Exploit them.
Yeah, and your broad strokes in here.
But they did. I'm not
You're
saying
saying
that they didn't.
name names. Can you name all of them? Because you can't. It's impossible.
I mean,
This is a show of 25
probably the
billion
entirety
people.
of the Lipstack of the Lipstack coalition. That was kind of the thing. Oh,
What's
we're
that,
not going to
league?
lose our bomb. League, whatever.
Yeah, I'm saying a bunch of those people, as talked about by Meerkats, are just inherent to the system of just the problem with nobility is that it creates people like that as like a disease. It's like a mental illness, what he was calling nobility. And I'm saying, again, that a bunch of these people, I don't think, did anything intentionally. That they're just following through on a life that they knew, which is to say, they're too stupid to recognize what they're doing. Which I believe is actually a lawful defense. You're too stupid to know what you're doing. And that's what I'm saying. Again, the difference between bad and evil is intent. If a child who doesn't know the difference between life and death, right? Doesn't understand what death is, stabs you because they watched something on TV, they saw a cartoon character do it, right? They don't know the difference between what's on TV and what's real. They don't know the difference of life and death. The kid's not evil, even though they look like fucking Chucky, right? You might think they're evil. They're not evil. They just did a bad thing. They don't have their intent wasn't to kill you because they wouldn't be intelligent enough to understand that intent.
But if you're an adult who is perfectly willing to do that, including sending your own forces to be destroyed to get an advantage, then yeah, I think there is an element to that.
Well, again, there's also the read on the world that you live in. You believe that the nobility ruling is the perfect order of society because you've been raised to that. So your belief might be that you're doing good. There is no objective evil.
I believe that there's sometimes some forms that are just lines that you shouldn't cross.
Without jumping into extremist examples, there is no objective evil.
Fair enough.
Obviously, we're talking about certain events of, say, 1940s. Obviously, there are extreme evils, right? Things that you would be hard-pressed if you're not a member of the debate club to, like, win that argument. I'm just saying that when you talk about everyday life, there are hardly any objective evils.
Or I would argue that we have accepted them to the point where it's like, yeah, well, there's nothing we can do about it, and therefore making a value judgment is a waste of time.
Well, no, I'm leaning more on the element of individual perception. What you might see as evil for the person doing it might be a requirement to live, you know? And at what point is your death more valuable than another person's convenience? If you're working at the gas station, right, and I'm starving, like I haven't eaten in 5 days, right, because I'm living on the streets, and I rob your store, say either of money or like the food, right? It's not your company. You don't own the place. Like in this example, say it's an Exxon or something, right? Not the mom and pop shop or whatever. You don't own the place, right? None of that is your responsibility at the end of the day.
No.
But am I evil to you for having robbed the place? Because objectively, robbery is a crime. But is my life less valuable than the inconvenience of you having to call cops or...
I would not confuse legality with morality. That's the first thing. But second, in this case, I would put the blame where it belongs and not with the person that is starving, but with the system that allows or encourages the situation.
Yeah, but we're not looking at the overall government down perspective. I'm talking about the guy who works at the convenience store or the gas station or whatever.
No, yeah, you let a guy take whatever. You know, you don't care. It's not you. Yeah,
yeah, but you're saying that. How many people would go, I've got to defend the store, or I'm going to call the cops and hold you here until they get here? How many Walmart videos have you seen of a guy just walking out of the store with a box of stuff who claims to have a receipt and then a cop will just jump on their back? Right?
Yeah, too many.
I understand that you're saying the legality of the situation is not the measure of what's evil. It's more evil as a morality standpoint, but people in a moment aren't thinking about, oh, these are the laws I have to obey. They're thinking about, that's wrong. That guy's stealing, and that is wrong. And at that point, you're thinking, what's evil in the sense of wrongness? In which case, again, that's an individual perspective. There will be people walking out the Walmart door thinking, I don't give a shit, you know? And then their objective scale, that's somewhere in the middle. somewhere there's a pirating guy who's like, everything's free. In which case, robbery is not illegal at all to them. They don't give a shit. Money is just a method of control, and that's evil. So I'm saying there's no absolute evil. Oh, again, the far edge extremes, there are absolute evils, because if you're a Pol Pot or mustachioed man, there are things you incite people to do. But I mean in the everyday norms of living. And to go back to the example, we don't live in that world. Nobility, although I would say a small portion of the population in the world of Legend of Galactic Heroes, is a large population of itself. Not forgetting for the moment, you can buy your way in.
I will then ask you a question. Is there any lines that you think Reinhardt would cross that you go like, that's unacceptable?
I mean, we had numerous conversations. The thing I just literally said I don't want to talk about anymore. I mean, You didn't come back with as many notes as I had about that. Like, I had like 5 paragraphs about it because it was on the line for me. But at the same time, you have mentioned it as many times now as I came back with notes the episode after. I mean, that was the line, but then I justified it still. So
there's no line for you because he didn't cross the line.
Well, he could do something
worse.
It could be just, this is a world of super weapons. He can obviously do something worse. At the end of the day, my measure is more about what was gained than lost. You're saying we can't tell what the future would have been. I mean, the last time we had a conversation about this was the element that there's no way to know that more people wouldn't have suffered. And my argument there is, well, one, there's people who live in the world who would have made those judgments for us that we just didn't see. And the other being that this is an analogy to the real world, in which case that argument has been made constantly. And I believe in the long-term results of that argument. So in the aspect of, can he cross that line? Obviously, I think he probably will. That's probably going to be the notation of the show, that Siegfried was the thing keeping him in this, back and forth, away from this, in the area. Mm-hmm. And without that, he's going to be on this side far more often. Yeah. But at the same time, it's what the justification is. I believe that you can justify doing horrible things for good reasons.
Mm. And I believe that if you keep using that justification, then you can justify anything, basically.
Yes, you can. I also had a comment about that.
Yeah, which I read, yes.
Yeah, that everything should be taken as its own. That if you're going to justify anything, you can justify anything with it, but every situation is its own unique thing. And just because you use a horrible thing to solve and make a thing good 10 times out of 10, that doesn't mean that you're always using the same justification. It just means that the justification applied 10 times out of 10. Which, I don't know, maybe at that point it's a good justification.
Or a meaningless one.
Again, the argument being that did we prevent the suffering of more people than suffered because of the thing that we did? And if the answer is yes in that scenario, then I have to believe that was worth doing then.
Yeah, but it reminds me of another show that we watch, the end of which is Fate Zero. Where literally a character who lived by that way kept, his last test was like, yeah, well, okay, if you save these people and then you save these people, and then at the very end it's like, oh shit, they didn't do anything. This is bullshit. He came to the realization, yeah, this is bullshit.
I think the detractor on that one is the element that one was just a hypothetical over and over again.
True, but that's how he lived his life. In other words, he kept doing things to save more people, and then eventually like, okay, we're going to give you the power to save as many people as you can.
I mean, not to get into the weeds on what fate is, but the element is that, remember, to make a wish on the Grail, you have to know how to accomplish the wish. So It kind of feels like in that context that the Grail is presenting him with the only way that he knows how to achieve his goal, which is to say, okay, well, what if we just keep doing the thing that you're already doing, which is the only way that you know how to do, and here's the logical conclusion of doing that thing that you're doing constantly. It doesn't present itself as any other examples. I think in a world where Kiritsugu had known how to accomplish the thing he would have done, he wouldn't have been presented with that, okay, half and half again, and half again, and half again.
Yeah.
which is the difference between the hypothetical that we're already talking about, which is to say, these people have never, like, stuck to one thing and done it over and over again. We didn't nuke a planet, and then, I don't know, let's nuke another planet, right? It's always been, well, here's one morally gray area where it'd be hard to justify doing a horrible thing for a good cause, to another morally gray area about doing a horrible thing to justify a good cause. But every time so far, sorry, I'm just pausing to think if there's been any circumstances where I haven't agreed. I don't think there's been. I mean, I'm on board with the kidnapping of the kid right now, only because it serves to justify other events. Well, for one thing, if they disagreed with Pheasant now, like if they didn't go with it, how many people on Pheasant are going to end up dead?
What do you mean?
Hopefully, they said they would attack Pheasant and take Pheasant and Corridor if they fail to do this. Which means that if they disagreed with the whole Pheasant setup operation thing, that's what that would have led to anyway. Which means one kid versus how many millions of people live on Pheasant?
No, probably more than one planet, but sure.
I think it's just one planet. I think Pheasant is just one planet. It's supposed to be like an Isolon sort of scenario. It's just the one planet in the corridor, I think. We've been shown Pheasant plenty of times. It's just been the one thing.
Yeah.
It's the, I can't remember the name of the story. It's the story about Utopia. And it turns out that there's one child in Utopia that's eternally suffering.
Yeah.
What would you pay for Utopia? And that's that one. Also, it's kind of the story of season 2 of Made in Abyss. Well, that's sort of more of a capitalist utopia, but there's still a one person suffering at the bottom. But yeah, the idea of will you sacrifice this one annoying brat kid? And you're not even really sacrificing them, you're just moving them out of this place to another place. For the safety, or not even the safety, because you don't care about the safety, but ultimately, if we didn't do it, that's what would happen to Pheasant. The Empire would come down on them. So ultimately, greater good scenario.
That's why I said earlier enough, slippery slope.
I don't think
but
it is.
I'm not going to go back. I'm going to go back to that.
I'm not going back to the argument there. I just think the definition of a slippery slope implies that there is a slope to travel down. If you're judging every scenario based on its own merits, then you're not on a slope because you're not in the same situation. A slippery slope tends to be the idea that you're going to do the same thing over and over again and use a justification to apply to it. And we're not doing the same thing.
Many characters have said essentially that that's how Rudolph became the person he became, and the Empire became what it was, because Rudolph ostensibly did what he did with good intentions, and then kept making more and more and more decisions until finally he became the tyrant that set up a eugenics-fueled, thought-policed empire that apparently also had slavery or war camps that people were desperate to escape from, and was willing to fight a 150-year-old battle against the people that escaped the Empire instead of leaving them alone.
I mean, I disagree only because of what my timeline says. The year...
I mean, that's what Yang has said. That's what...
No, I'm saying that basically from the moment he founded the Empire, he did the whole eugenics thing. So he was that guy from the beginning. There's no... I know that Yang says he was like... Maybe Yang's talking about him back when he was a member of the Galactic Federation, like 4 years before he founded the Empire, when he entered the world of politics. Back when he was Bruce Ashbying it. But again, the year that he formed the Empire, he formed the genetics policy. So it's hard to argue at that point that he was on a slow decline when legitimately he started like the whole, no, let's get rid of a certain people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we circle around the point enough as it is, so I think it's time to move on.
Anything else to say about the episode? Because I believe that's what you started with.
Yeah. Well, now that the plan is afoot, the question is whether or not something happens that this kid gets harmed or killed or caught in the crossfire, and then it's like, oops, are they going to blame Pheasant? Are they going to blame the Alliance?
I mean, it's one of two things, right? Mm-hmm. One, there's no reason for him to get hurt or injured.
It could happen. I mean,
no, I'm saying it's one of two things. There's no reason for it to happen, so he would just get away, right, to the Alliance. In which case, it's up to the Alliance side what happens over there. Or two, it's going to be an overzealous employee scenario. Kessler, like, how the fuck did this happen? Even though we've seen him imagine Reinhardt for some reason. That someone along the way is going to figure out what's going on. Not the plot with the pheasant, but how they're going to escape and try to capture him, and an accident's going to happen. In which case that will change everything, but I don't see why we would go that route other than the fact that we have 80 episodes to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I don't know what the ultimate plan is. I don't know what becomes of the Galactic heroes.
We haven't seen it yet.
Well, like, who's a hero?
That's a very good question.
I don't mean what's a hero. I mean, who is a hero right now in the story?
I mean, they're presenting Yang and Reinhardt as the heroes, or more like, well, mostly Reinhardt as the protagonist.
Oh, I mean, you're constantly arguing against Reinhardt. I would have assumed you would have just said Yang, and that's it.
Oh, well, taking the story as it is given, they're saying that the Legend of Galactic heroes is Yang and Reinhardt, or Reinhardt.
I mean, I was ready to make the argument that Reinhardt is a hero. If you're a starving peasant, you've suddenly gotten a lot more money by the government and are able to do things that would have gotten you killed before. You now have essentially all the rights that the nobles used to have. To you, Reinhardt is a fucking hero. And you're constantly hearing out all the victories he's had militarily against the Alliance. He's a fucking hero, according to anybody at the lower end of the Imperial life. Whereas Yang, who is being depicted as a hero to us, kind of has a bad rap in the Alliance.
No, I mean, it's because the superiors fear that he's going to take over.
Yeah, he's getting the Bruce Ashby treatment.
Yeah, but he has saved millions of people and protected the Alliance constantly effectively from the Empire, being the only one capable of actually be doing that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're on the Alliance side, I don't know what the common viewpoint might be. It seems to be that they're trying to make it out to be that he is in league with the Empire, that he's in cahoots with Frederica, which, who her father was, right? Like, bunch of shit. There's a bunch of shit. Like, I don't know what matches against a Miracle Yang or the savior of El Guapo, the savior of El Guapo, the savior of El Cervantes. Like, I can't, my brain's going all over the place.
El Fácil.
Yeah, just like what was being pushed right now. Like, why did he destroy all of our defenses? Versus what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. There you have it.
All right. I think we're going to call it there then. Once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?